all, it's Brigitte here, and I'm sitting here with the wonderfully talented Ashley Robinson.
Hi.
So, now Ashley, you're a psychic medium, right?
Yeah, spiritualist medium.
Spiritualist medium. And well, I've been away for a while, but you come from a long line of spiritualists. And how did you first know that you had a gift?
I think one of the first things that I was very aware about as a child is that I was always encouraged to use all of my available senses. So if I had an imaginary friend, I was asked to challenge what the imaginary friend's name was and where they were from. And I suppose when lots of kids get to a certain age and they were told that I can't see that person so they don't exist, my parents would have said, well, if they claim to be your friend and they've got this name and they're not getting up to mischief, then it's okay to carry on talking to them. So I was very aware that there were lots of different things available to me. And as a child, just continued and encouraged to open and not formally develop, but just be aware about what was going on.
That's a great start to life.
Yeah, I think probably around puberty, it was a little bit more intimidating and overwhelming. I was seeing and hearing spirit and it didn't feel like I could control it.
Right.
So my first sort of stage of formal development was actually to close down and turn it off.
And you did?
I did, because certainly as a young teenager, but by the time I got into my late teens and I was sort of drinking alcohol and things like that, I was very open. So actually my formal training was to close down and to switch all this off so I could make sense of it.
That is very interesting. Now, how did you develop after that?
It's strange. Once I sort of got used to switching things off, I then became very interested in how I could switch it back on.
Right.
And I wanted to choose sort of a moment in my life where I could give it the right commitment. But by the time I was 18, I knew that I wanted to understand more about what I was hearing and seeing or smelling. I wanted to have confirmation because I was very excited about talking to my friends about life after death.
Yeah.
I've always given sort of seeds of hope when people have lost ones, and everyone's going to miss the physical presence. But as I started talking about my spiritualism and what it meant to me, I wanted to be able to prove it. I wanted to prove there was a life after death. And that was when I said, I want to sit now formally and start to develop these gifts.
And who taught you?
So I suppose you could argue that my parents were my first teachers, but they were also the first people that said to do this properly, I need to sit in a circle with a lady called Christine Woodham at Hatbridge Church, and started to learn more about the formal side of opening up my body and using things that people would call chakras. And after a period of time, Christine emigrated abroad. There was a new circle leader, a lady called Mary.
Right.
And after a short period with Mary, I had the opportunity to sit with my godmother, Jill Hay, who was a lovely medium, a bit of a babysitter for me growing up, and then a fantastic circle leader.
Okay. And now, how am I going to put this? So you've progressed onto platform as well.
Yeah.
And when did you first start doing that?
When I was about 18, my godmother, Jill, had encouraged all of the circle to stand up with her. And she was a working medium, and she said that, okay, so you can all do this in circle with people you know, let's go and do it to strangers. So I think it was a remembrance service around sort of Sunday the 11th of November, something like that, and I got up and started to give my first couple of messages from the church platform at Hatbridge. Every different communicator sort of show themselves slightly different. So sometimes I could see someone like I see you now.
Yeah.
And it's incredible when that happens because it's like having a conversation with another human being. Most of the time, they tend to imprint themselves on my mind's eye as opposed to my physical eyes.
Yeah.
And I sort of blank the canvas in the mind's eye, or I blank the mirror, and they start to show them to me. Sometimes they'll give me physical things I could feel, maybe a condition that they had with. Sometimes they describe themselves or show them like a photograph, and they'll use different bits of my memory to picture themselves on.
Even songs, right? And smell.
Yeah, everyone is communicating slightly different, and one of the things I've had to learn to do is to trust spirit.
Yeah.
So rather than just try and interpret the song I'm hearing, sometimes just saying I've got the milk tray music from dairy milk, and someone will go, I know exactly what that means. I know exactly who you've got. So don't interpret things. Catchphrase. Say what you've got. Say what you see.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I want to come over here. There's a lady almost looking at me now, wearing sort of a brownish or beige top, and you've got your chin on your fist. Hi, there we go. The only one with the two. Is it okay if I come to you? Yes. What's your name, please?
Kirsty.
Hello, Kirsty. Kirsty Armash. Kirsty, I've got a man with me, okay? And he wants to talk to you, and I'm asking who he is. He's claiming to be family, okay? He's talking about being a father figure to you, but it's not dad, okay? Showing me a man on dad's side of the family, and he goes up one level in the family tree. So I just want to say this is dad's dad in the spirit world. Would you understand that first of all? Okay. One of the things when I was sitting there, as he sort of got close to me, is he gave me the sense that my body was restricted. And sort of particularly across my shoulders, it was almost like my muscles, my body, I just couldn't break out. And then as soon as I stood up, he wanted to break out so that he could stand tall. Would you understand that sort of physical condition with him before he passed? Okay. And would you understand a shortness of breath with him? Almost like, at times, I would have almost gasped for breath to steady myself. Okay. So, as he wants to communicate with you, it's really important that first thing he says, I am free of that. It's almost like I've cut off my shackles because I felt frustrated by the shackles that my body gave me in that life towards the end of my life. Would you understand that with him? Okay, so he says, talk about that. Give that proof that I am free of that because I felt like it held me back. There were things I still wanted to do. Although people, okay, they kept me connected to the world, I was unable to do more. Okay, it was like I was being restricted. So I'm all right. In fact, I'm better than all right. I feel like I'm in my peak again. And as he sort of, it's almost like dancing, like I'm boxing, and I'm sort of shadow boxing, and I'm taking lots of breaths, and I'm fast and I'm furious. And then he sort of slicks his hair back, almost like a teddy boy, okay? And then you've got a bit of like a DA with a hairstyle with him. Would that make sense to you? Okay. And he's saying, I never stopped being handsome, I was never ugly, but I'm even more handsome than I've ever been before. Do you understand that? Yeah? And it's like I've got a comb in my back pocket, and I'm just sort of, check myself, and I'm fighting fit, okay? Okay, he loves to see you smile, okay, and he's really pleased you're smiling now, because it gives him energy, and he says it's infectious. Okay, people around you like to make you laugh, and they get infected by your smile. It's contagious, and you have this contagious energy around you. You understand that as a personality trait that he's fond of? Yeah? Okay. So really, really proud of that. Proud of the energy you give to others. You said, okay, even when you're feeling dreadful, you're projecting happiness, you're projecting love. It's like, I'm not going to let everyone know. You could play poker with you and not know your cards. Because there's lots of things that I'm going to show you with my face and my energy. There could be a lot going on behind the scenes. Would that make sense? Okay. Try not to swear in church. But you understand it's like colourful language? Yeah. Right. So my dad is in here, so don't tell him who you're filming, but it's like, people keep crapping on you, and they just keep dumping on you, and I'm fed up with it. And that was the cleaned up sort of polite version. Because he's fed up with it. He said they make these assumptions about you, that you're resilient, and you're made of Teflon, nothing's going to stick, and they dump all their problems on your plate. And when your plate's full, they throw it on your shoulders. Would you understand that? Okay. And he's showing you juggling these competing forces and dealing with it, but he wants to knock it all off, because he said, I want you to be able to focus on you. Okay. So he's talking about this real sort of freedom and enjoying his life. He can say what he wants. He said, there's no women to stop me. Okay, would you understand that? He's like, women kept me well behaved, and I'm misbehaving now. And then he's sort of looking over his shoulder, because he knows his place, is what he tells me. I was never the bad boy, I was just really cheeky. And I would keep pushing that cheek as far as I could. Do you understand that? Okay. So he's enjoying that mysterious and enjoying that sort of cheekiness and enjoying that moment. He said, oh, I love it. And people talk about me. He said, I never had an ego before, but I think I've developed one now, because people talk about all the good sort of sides of me, and they have a real laugh and giggle. Would that make sense? And he said, I love that. I'm sort of developing, oh, it's brilliant. I'm going to listen in a bit more. And it feels awkward, because everyone's talking about me, and I'm sitting in the room agreeing with everyone and clapping my hands. But it's lovely. He says, lovely that you talk about me all so fondly, and that you don't talk about some of the things that I wasn't so proud of. Some of the things I became more demanding. Would that make sense? Yeah. And it's like I had a lot less patience towards the end of my life, and I was transferring my frustrations. Yeah. Okay? But would you understand that he's saying, you cared for me, and you almost allowed me, and all the things, all the traits of your personality that I've just said I was taking advantage of, I took advantage of that to a certain extent,
because I knew I could almost be curt with you and short with you, and I could be that around the people around me that gave me the most care. People did things to me they never should have had to have done, and then I didn't even say thank you. Does that make sense? I just accepted it and wanted more. I didn't say thank you now, because I didn't recognise it enough when I was in life. I was transferring my own frustrations and my own pain. And it never even made me feel better, so I don't know why I did it. But I'm sorry, and I'm ever, ever so thankful for you and what everyone else done for you. Kirsty, that was your message. Thank you.
Now, you've also done a lot for charity. How did that come about? Because I know you've walked abroad.
So I think reversing backwards, the most recent thing I did for charity was to walk. I walked for 6 days across the Great Wall of China.
Why did you do that?
I did that because I was challenged by the local hospice, a local hospice where many of our friends have spent their last few days, and also my wife's granddad. And they challenged me to conquer the Great Wall of China. It was a 6-day trek, about 670 flights of stairs.
Oh.
So definitely the most physically challenging thing I've ever done in my life. But there was also the physical challenge. And I mean, you can see I'm still overweight now, but I actually got up to a point where I was much heavier than I am now.
Yeah, I know.
And my health was not very good. So the personal challenge from the hospice was get yourself fit and healthy and raise some money for the hospice.
And how much did you raise?
We raised £4,500,
That's good.
and I was really pleased with that. But actually, it was at the church that I first got involved in charity, and I think I was probably about 5 years old when my grandfather, Derek Robinson, that used to be the president of the church,
That's right.
he got me dressed up as a cowboy. And one night before he was putting on one of these mediums, I think it was Doris Stokes in the early 80s. He got me dressed up as a cowboy, and while everyone was sat in the church, he got me to fire my cowboy gun, say this was a heist, and everyone had to donate to the National Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Children. So grandfather was always pushing me forward, and other people encouraged, and wherever I felt that there was a need, and almost every charity has a really good reason, I've tried to get behind them and support.
Well, that's amazing. So you'll still continue to do that work?
Yeah, I think that there's lots of things that get me out of bed in the morning, but definitely giving back and raising money for charity, it's incredible. And sometimes I can do that while doing something as exciting as the Great Wall of China. Yeah. Sometimes it's baking cupcakes or doing something other silly. And I also use my sport and my rugby. We've raised thousands of pounds for charities through playing rugby and getting like-minded people together.
Now, what's your role at Wimbledon here? You chair it. You're the chairperson, right?
Yeah, I'm one of the sort of ad hoc chairpersons, so I come in and help sort of enable meetings to take place. Most of the sort of the formal work I do, other than the platform mediumship, is behind the scenes. Right. So I run the website and the social media. I look at the communications and engagement strategy. How are we going to prove life after death? How are we going to promote the truths of spiritualism? And I try and do as much of that online and in the digital world as I can.
Okay. And you also organize all the events, don't you?
I do a lot of organising. Some of our sort of, I call it our major events. So we're lucky to have a brilliant sort of army of volunteers at both Wimbledon and Hatbridge Church. Everyone kind of does, one job here, one job there. We have people that book mediums for sort of the Monday to Friday, Monday to sort of Sunday services. But some of our bigger events, some of our major events, there's some of the things that I've been leading on. Again, trying to get the message out and trying to get people that don't usually come into the church on a Tuesday night to come maybe for the first time.
Yeah. Now, how do you view the afterlife?
How do I view it?
Yes. How do you see it?
I know without a shadow of doubt that there is something after the change we call death. And I call death a change. It's a pretty permanent change, as a human being on earth right now. But I think that is what we do. The body changes. And I know enough about energy to know that you can't really ever destroy energy.
No, you can't.
You can change energy. And I believe that when we've finished with our human shell on this earth, our body and personality, our spirit, turns into or transforms into another form of energy.
Correct, yeah.
And I think that the afterlife is what we call that place where all that energy kind of pulls together.
Well, that's our real home. I think Earth is our playground.
Yeah, I think we're certainly here to pursue happiness.
Yeah, to experience life.
Yeah, experience as much as we can.
Exactly, and I believe very much that we've got a contract and we've said, okay, we want these and these experiences, And then you think, okay, great. And then you come to Earth and you have all these boundaries and limitations, and you know, you have to go through the red tape, so to speak.
Yeah. And I think one of the most important things is that beautiful thing of free will.
Yes.
So regardless of the script we signed up for, once we're here, free will kicks in.
Exactly. I believe that very much so.
And I think that's why it's probably impossible to accurately predict the future. You've got a good idea about what's going to happen on certain paths, but free will and human pursuit of happiness and experience and everything, that kind of gets involved.
I know, and you know, it's often when you see that people struggle or they go through difficult times, what happens is they, how do I say that, they collapse emotionally. And what happens is they attract so much negativity, it's like you have to let it go, you have to keep moving forward. And I think a lot of people get stuck. So how do you advise they move forward?
Absolutely. I mean, what you've just described there, I think other people might even call karma. And I think that to a certain extent, people could take that with them and get to a point, they get back to the spirit world and they go, I didn't achieve all the things I wanted to achieve. Or actually, I've gone backwards. I've gone and done things I didn't even want to do. So I think that reincarnation is possible. I don't think it's a guarantee for everybody, but I certainly think that for me, it explains why people might choose to reincarnate, to go back and complete the first mission that they had set out to do, or to experience something else from a slightly different way.
And you know, I love life. I love the earth. So there's so much to do. There's so much to explore.
Absolutely.
And I think it's just, in many ways, I see so many people, they go to work and that's all they have, and then they go home. And before you know it, they're 65 years old and they're like, well, what if I'd done that, or what if I'd done that? But as you said, you have free will.
Yeah, and while I haven't quite sussed out from the universe why I'm meant to be here right now, I'm pretty sure that my paid work isn't why I was here.
Platform.
But paid work enables me to do other things.
Yes, it
enables
does.
me to pay the bills and to live a life. Yeah.
For now.
So I think you're absolutely right.
And I think for you it will go, you know, for everyone, but for you it will go in stages, and until you can make a living out of it.
Yeah, maybe.
Know?
Or until none of us need to make a living.
That's right.
More horse trading and everything else that goes on.
Now, how do you advise that people ask for help from spirit?
Well, I think that even the word guide or the word coach come from the fact that our instinct is our instinct, but our instinct is often influenced by things around us. And ultimately, I think anyone that feels inspired to go off in a certain way could say that they've been guided in some way or another. And I think that based on my interpretation of the afterlife and energy, that it all kind of links in. So I think that there is help there, and I think that the vast majority of what I would call spirits in the afterlife are not going to come and give that help unless you want it. So you've got to know you want it, you've got to ask for it, and then you've got to listen really carefully.
It's, you know, it's becoming aware of everything around you, becoming aware of your thoughts, your feelings, and I guess it's tuning in.
And I think that's a really good way, because there's so many radio stations right now with self-help, DJs and authors on there, but unless you go, pick up that radio, dial into that frequency, and then listen actively, you're never going to get that help. So be aware, know what that frequency is, and keep fine-tuning it until you get to the right thing you've been waiting for.
And now, how do you get ready for a reading?
So I get ready in different ways. As I said, ever since I was a child, I was aware that there was something other than what I could sort of physically see in front of me. And when I started to formally learn how to do this work, I went through the physical sort of opening up of the chakras and sort of deep meditation. But I also got to a point that my relationship with spirit, and I said, I really want to do this work for you, but I simply don't have the time to meditate all day, every day to that level. But this is my commitment to you. So what can you do to help me open up quicker? And I felt that spirits were giving me almost like a fast track. So actually, I can close my eyes. I often ask, Mother, Father, God, for their help and protection. I thank them for what they've already done, and I sort of say, I'm here and I'm ready to be working. I'm protected, I'm grounded, and I'm going to do everything I can to sort of prove life after death, and that universal message of love. And then they keep working with me. So
that's quick. That's good.
It's a start. I think that if I were able to probably spend more time in a meditative state, more development, again tuning in, I'd be even better. But at the moment, they've found a way that they can work with me a little bit quicker. They can fast track all of the things I would have done traditionally, opening up all the chakras, just a bit faster pace.
Now, what's next for you?
I want to continue to get the seeds out there and planted. I think there are so many people that still don't know about or how to find out or discover the truths of spiritualism. So I want to be able to promote that. I want to be able to engage with people that need this in their life but don't know where to get it from. And I think the more people we can get finding out about spiritualism and what spiritualism could mean for them, because it's going to mean different things and different badges for different people, the better. And as a medium, I want to continue to develop. I want to be able to provide the best possible evidence to the person in front of me that I do have their loved one with them. And if someone is claiming to be that, they should be able to give me evidence which is, you know, indisputable.
That's right.
And then more of the philosophy. So most of the messages from people in the spirit world might just be, tell mum I'm okay, which is great if that's what they need to hear.
No.
But I think there's so much more of a philosophy that we need to pass on. So I think spiritualism itself is still evolving, and we've gone from Victorian parlour checks of Ouija boards and things like that to the current level
That's
of
right.
mediumship, but we're still just starting. This isn't the way it finishes. There'll be more philosophy, more lessons, and if we're all ready to listen, more education.
Maybe you should write about it.
Yeah, if I can find the time, I'd love to.
One day you might.
Yeah.
Just sit down and write.
And it goes back, doesn't it? I need to make the time to write.
Exactly, you need to make the time. Now people can book you for a reading, right?
Yeah.
And do they just call up Wimbledon Church? Can they email you?
I prefer them to ring the church and to make a booking. I mean, we are connected to the digital world, so they
I
can
was just gonna say.
text, they can email, they can find us on Facebook and Twitter. But because I tend to run all the digital media channels, well, what I say to people is, when you've booked in by Facebook, I want you to test me. And there'll be no way that I can guess anything in this message that I might have seen on Facebook or Twitter or on email. So if anything, it creates a bigger challenge for me. I know I'm not, trolling their pages, but I think if someone rings the church and comes in, my next reading is then just my next reading. Spirit will be ready. I don't even need to know their name. So ring the church
good.
on a Sunday night, or a Tuesday night or a Sunday morning, or get in touch with us any of the channels.
So do you do it via Skype as well?
We haven't done, but there's
should.
no reason we couldn't. In fact, I've been encouraging some of our other mediums to do some Skype messages.
Yeah.
We had an international friend the other day asked to do it over WhatsApp audio.
That's
So
right.
I think that all it starts with modernising the church. We finally got through the medieval days to have a Wi-Fi signal. So we're starting to do more. We've got some live streaming.
Yeah.
And I think that Skype readings and things like WhatsApp audio, they're all things we would like to start using.
Perfect. Well, do you have any last words?
Well, thank you for the opportunity today, and hopefully, those of you listening or viewing have found some things of interest. But challenge.
Yeah.
I think be ambitious and challenge everything we have right now, so that we can go on to something quite exciting. Because I think there are exciting truths to come forward.
Yeah, I think so. Well, thank you so much, Ashley.
Thank you.
And be high.
Cheers.